Hello, I'm Wendy Halley, and you're listening to Lucid Cafe. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. When I first decided to do this podcast, I made an announcement to my mailing list and asked if anyone had any suggestions for potential guests that I could talk with on the show. I heard back from one of my clients who said that she'd be willing to chat with me about her healing journey. And I actually don't know her that well. She's a long distance client. I have met her a few times in person, but for the most part, I didn't know much about what she was going to be talking about. And so I was a little surprised to find out that a lot of her healing journey revolved around the healing sessions she's done with me. She references the healing sessions she's done with me throughout our conversation. And I was thinking it could be a little confusing to you as a listener, so I asked for her permission to read my write up of her very first healing journey with me. When I do long distance healing work for folks, I always capture the experience in writing and then send them a copy of it. Fortunately, I still had a copy of the very first healing journey I did for Connie back in 2009. And like I said, she gave me permission to share it with you so you can understand what she's referencing throughout our conversation. So, for this very first shamanic healing journey I did on Connie's behalf, this is what happened. When my spirit helpers and I first connected with Connie in the dream time, she appeared to be very excited to see me and my invisible friends. She said that she was really looking forward to today's healing and then offered me some pastries that she had brought as a gift, and I happily accepted. There's nothing better than dreamtime pastries. So then my helping spirits got to work doing an initial assessment of the patterns that weren't serving Connie, that lived within her dream body, or you could say her unconscious. And they were immediately drawn to the dreaming of Connie's heart, the landscape of her heart, where they saw that her heart was quite damaged and it was riddled with many small fracture lines. But my helping spirit said before they could address Connie's heart, they needed to work on her self-esteem. At that point, they shifted focus to her solar plexus, which to me represents self-esteem. So the landscape of Connie's solar plexus was depressed. It was concave. To me, this indicated that Connie might experience a feeling of hunger, which might manifest in a need for attention and or a strong need to connect with others in order to feel complete. I also felt that food may have been used as a way to satisfy and satiate this emotional hunger. Underneath this depression in Connie's solar plexus, I perceived a strong sensation or feeling of waiting. And then I was shown a scene where Connie was probably about 4 years old and she was sitting on a staircase. Her age then morphed, spanning the entirety of her childhood and adolescence. And my helping spirits asked Connie what she was doing there, and she said she was waiting for her father. I felt a strong sense of excitement that would build at the thought of spending time with her dad, followed by heartbreaking disappointment because her wish rarely came true. This pattern seemed to repeat many times over, and my helpers said is what led to the damage in her heart. It was as if her heart was broken many times over. So then my helping spirits began the healing process. And what they did was they removed Connie from that scene where she was sitting on the staircase, and then they completely pulled that scene out of her dream body. They removed it completely, which is called extraction. And this allowed for a new landscape to emerge. And the new landscape was a lovely scene in the woods next to a lake. On the shore of the lake sat an old cabin with a covered front porch. We placed the young version of Connie in this new landscape, and then out of the cabin, walked an old Indian man who called himself grandfather. The young version of Connie looked very pleased to see him. He told her that he'd keep her company and take care of her until her broken heart was healed. And then he scooped her up in his arms and sat in a rocking chair on the porch and then rocked her. He told her stories about the stone people and taught her how to listen to the wind. At that point, I went in search of an animal spirit who wanted to be of service to Connie at this point in her healing journey, and I was immediately greeted by a colorful, almost cartoon-like snail. The snail said she wanted to teach Connie the value of taking her time and patience. She said she also wanted to teach Connie how to protect herself and create healthy boundaries. And so the essence of the snail merged with Connie's dream body and took up residence in that forest by the lake. My helping spirits then shifted their focus back to Connie's heart. What they did was they removed the dreaming of Connie's heart and then they burned it. And this is like a purification. So out of the flames comes a shiny new healed heart. The healed heart was then placed back in Connie's chest. And then out of the healed heart, I saw the image of an oyster appear. My helpers explained that Connie would now be experiencing a time of protection and self-preservation as her heart continued to fully heal. They said that she would know when she was ready to share her heart with someone because the oyster would open and reveal a perfectly formed pearl. And then they said that the quicker she learned to love herself, the quicker the pearl would develop. So at the end of the healing, I checked back in on the cabin by the lake and saw that the grandfather had wrapped the young version of Connie in a large bearskin, as if she were a burrito, and then held her tightly in his arms in the rocking chair. I heard him say to Connie, "This is called a bear hug." And in response to that, the young version of Connie smiled really big, and I no longer felt a sense of waiting. So that was the end of the healing. And I'm hoping that hearing that will help make sense of the conversation that you're about to listen to. So with that, I hope you enjoy listening to Connie Andonian's healing journey. Connie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome, Wendy. Anytime.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, just so we can get oriented to who Connie is.
Oriented to who Connie is. Single mom, living in New York. Have a 16-year-old son who's fantastic. I work in New York City as a paralegal, enjoy my job, enjoy my bosses. Life is pretty good. I'm in a funky place right now where my son's getting all prepped for college and my parents are getting a little demanding because they're getting older. And I guess I'm in a place where I'd like to figure out my focus so I can get more about myself as opposed to my son because he's moving on. You know, he's going to be a young man. So I'm in that kind of stage of my life, you know,
Right.
But all's good. Just changes and cycles and stuff. So I'm going into the next one, you know?
Yeah, it's what they call it, the empty nest syndrome, right?
I guess. I mean, I have a boyfriend, I have friends, and I have interests that I haven't been able to even get to because I'm a cab driver, you know, getting my son everywhere and stuff. So as he becomes more of an adult, you know, I get to have more free time. And I'm really looking forward to filling that time with things that I want to do. Not that I don't want to do things for him, but more Connie things.
Yeah, because you know he's going to be listening to this and you don't want him to think that. You know.
Yes, exactly.
Just in case.
Exactly. No,
yeah.
No, I just, you know, you just need some time for yourself after a while, you know, so, but it's all good. I enjoy every minute of it. It's all good time, you know.
We should probably say how we met.
I know. I was thinking about that today before I spoke to you.
Do you want to tell that story?
I can if you want. I think, what was it? Okay, I was recently divorced or separated. The divorce hadn't been through. And I was just going on all that electronic dating thing, just trying to fill that hole. And didn't really work that way because you don't meet people, or I don't meet people well that way. You meet them with, you know, you do things you have in common. I ended up meeting your uncle. He was just a really nice person, and I can get a sense about people, you know, And we went and got really sloshed, like on the first date, and you came up in conversation. I don't know what we were talking. Oh, we were talking about, like, I read all these Carlos Castaneda books where they do Pico and they journey out of their bodies, and he's like, you don't even know who Carlos Castaneda is. I'm like, yes, I do. I read all that stuff. I love that, And he goes, well, my niece does that and she doesn't need any drugs to do it. And I'm like, what? And he tells me how you travel out of your body and you go to the spirit realm and that you help people. And then he went on to say, I said, wow, she sounds like so cool, And he says, she happens to be coming and I could, see if she wouldn't mind meeting you, And I said, really? And long story short, I was at your aunt's house. Was it your aunt? No, your great aunt's
My
house?
grandmother. It's my
Your
grandmother.
grandmother. I always get confused. I don't know why I
Olga.
get confused with that. Your grandmother's house, Olga, yeah, and when I met you, I was really in a very funky place. I was like, if you want to describe me, I was a completely different person when I met you. Not myself at all, just in like some desperate zone.
Well, and I had nothing to compare it to at the time. I mean,
exactly.
You seem fine to me. I was just going to say, I also want to add that for the listeners, that my uncle is actually only 7 years older than me. So it's kind of like,
that's why I have a problem with the him being your uncle thing.
Yeah, no, he's only.
We're not that far apart in age, so I always just thought he was your cousin or something. I don't know why.
He's more like a big brother to me than an uncle.
Yeah, because of the age. Yeah. Looking back on that, Wendy, I got to tell you, I don't even know who that person was walking in that house that day.
Really?
That's like, I'm like, yeah, that's how much I've like just come back into myself. Because when I was sitting there at your grandmother's house, I didn't even know who I was anymore. Like I had forgotten. I was like another person.
Right.
And when I saw you years later, with my mom and my son coming up to Vermont and stuff, you even said it. Oh my God, you're like another person. I'm like, yeah, it's just phases. It was my relationship at the time, was way up in my head, got really far up in my head. And it's taken me a couple of years to get out of it. And I can honestly say that I feel like I'm on solid ground now and, on my 2 feet, and there really isn't anything I can't handle. When I had met you, I was feeling very shaky. I had a little 5-year-old boy I was going to raise on my own. And, I had an ex-husband I wasn't getting along with, and everything was just scary.
How many years ago was that then?
Probably a good 10 years. Could be more. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah.
Wow. So quite a journey.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and being willing to share your journey with us.
Sure. Like you said, I'm open and I'm a talker.
Like I said? I think you said that.
Yeah. We said that before the podcast started. So, no, I just think since meeting you, like the way I look at the whole thing, it was just completely not destined, but there was a message coming for me. I was screaming on the inside for help. You understand? Nobody, I wasn't getting any help from anywhere. And that's when you popped in and you were like this curiosity. I'm like a little bit of an intellect, and I'm like, I don't believe in coincidences. It was just flowing and coming, and there was a purpose. There was a reason. And there was an issue of trust. I didn't really trust a lot of people. And with you, I didn't have that problem. I got the vibe that you were honest and I could trust you and I could talk to you. And, you weren't lying to me or, saying anything untrue or sending me on a wild goose chase or whatnot. So that was important. So once I got that element of trust there, I was like, well, I got to find out who this Wendy is,
So are you saying that your journey, your healing journey began at Olga's house?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
Pretty much, because like when I reached out to you after having met you, remember I was in that dark night of the soul. The only way I could describe that is everything just flat out sucked. Doesn't matter what I did. I could try to be happy for 5 minutes and like the wind would blow to the left and bam, it was ruined my day. Like I had like no strength about anything. And no matter what I tried, and I tried going on a diet. I tried more exercise. I tried, St. John's wort, supposed to make you happy. Nothing was doing it. And it wasn't until I asked you, I said, help me, can you heal me? Can you try and help me? And you went on a journey for me. And I remember I was on my closet floor and I kept trying to sing, and I kept telling my son, I can't sing. He's like, Mommy, what's wrong with your voice? I said, I don't know, Lucas, I just can't sing.
What do you mean you're on your
I was
closet
cleaning out
floor?
my shoes. I know that sounds funny. I was cleaning out my shoes, and as I do work, I sing, like keep busy and happy and whatever. And I just couldn't, my voice was gone. Like I just couldn't kick out a note.
Are you saying
My
that was a
throat.
reflection of where you were at that point in your?
Yeah, because what had happened was you went in and you did a healing.
Okay.
And what you said to me was that my solar plexus was there was a problem. And after you did the healing, like the next day, you had been done the healing that night, and the next day I get up and I could sing. And then the day during the afternoon, you wrote to me and said, Connie, I did the journey for you yesterday. Remember? And you gave me the whole summary, and you burnt out my solar plexus. Remember?
I don't remember. But
okay, well, that particular journey, you burnt out my solar plexus because it was depressed.
I burned it out.
Yeah.
I don't
you
even
remember
know.
this?
I don't remember that.
You had to like burn out in the spirit realm. You had to completely burn out my solar plexus. It was concave, and I needed a new one. And when you did that, it just cleared everything, and I could sing. My voice was back. I could speak. I had a little bit of confidence. And I said to Lucas, something's happened because I'm different today. It was almost instantaneous. I was so impressed, And then your journey revealed things to me that you really did go on a journey in the spirit realm about me, because you mentioned things that I didn't say to you or mention to you, and you had no idea about. It was pretty neat. And you did a soul retrieval after that, and you hit on other things, and I was like, wow, I forgot about that trauma. You hit on things I didn't even remember, but they were still there, and you cleared up so many things. I think I still have some things to work on, I'm sure everybody does, but I feel like I can get them done. I can work on them on my own. I don't need to go say, hey, Wendy, can you heal me? I know I can heal myself at this point. So
beautiful.
That's the difference. Do you see what I mean? Like when you met me, I was like looking for everybody else to help me and save me and whatever. And now the person that I am, like, I know it's 10 years. It seems like a long time, but that's not a really long time to remember who you are. It really isn't.
No, absolutely.
So that's where I am now. And unfortunately, I think I'm partially, what's that? Well, not dyslexic, but I can't get the word in my head. Like someone who jumps from subject to subject back and forth.
Oh, you're talking about attention deficit disorder?
ADD? Yeah. I have to be mildly ADD for sure, because my mind just flicks around. So, doing those journeys and working on myself really calms the mind, and it just grounds you and helps you a lot to just go and get to spirit. It really helps a lot. But I wouldn't have learned that if I didn't go on that silly little date with your uncle and he mentioned you. You popped right up.
Really?
You popped right up in conversation. Yep, we were talking about cars and then I don't know how you came up, but we started talking about all that out of body stuff. Like we got right into it. So that was his purpose. He was sent to do that, to get me to you.
I didn't know your work with me was the thrust of
Catalyst.
it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I did meet some shamans. There's a lady in my office who also did a different variation on shamanism. You are towards the Hawaiian traditions, and her group did the Peruvian traditions. And I asked her about that. I said, "What is there any difference?" She says, "No, this is for you. This is your journey, your decisions, and there's different traditions and different styles, but it's still shamanism, and it's still journeying to the spirit realm to help yourself and help others." And I've gotten to the point now that I've like had a fire ceremony or two. Never really feel like I know what I'm doing, but I reached out to one of the ladies that I know, and I know the purpose of it. So maybe I get a little bit wrong here and there, but every time I rattle, and I now got a drum. I drummed, and I can't tell you, I'm like an open book. Things about people just flow right through me. And so for me, it's less important for me to journey now than it is for me to hold space for them, and just hold the space so that they can journey well. I do want to study more, and that's probably where I'm going to focus. Like when my son's not here, I can focus more on that. I could focus on maybe getting some training for all that I can with shamanism and just research that more, and do more for myself. Because I don't know, the more I get better, it's like the more I just want to help people. It's like I don't even care about me when I'm out there. It just feels really good to know that I've helped them have journeys.
To be of service in that way. Yeah.
That's the change that's happened. It's like I evolved, you know what I mean?
That's wonderful. And I'm thrilled to hear that you have your own personal shamanic practice. I think that's incredible because, my wish is that everyone become her own shaman.
Yeah. It just happened. It wasn't anything I researched, or it just came to me. Like you came to me, my friends at work came to me. She starts telling me she's been practicing shamanism for years. I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, well, I don't really care what it is. And I went to a healing circle, and she says, just come with an open mind and an open heart. And we all did like the directions and opened up sacred space. And I was immediately emotional when we hit the north direction and wept like a baby. And then we went and turned, and all of a sudden I stopped weeping, and I went, something's going on here. Some people left. They thought we were crazy. There was a guy talking about how he likes to hug a tree and communicate with the tree. So they just looked at him like he was crazy or something, So it really is about having an open mind. And sure enough, I just kept coming, and it just kept evolving.
Have you noticed any change in your relationship with nature?
Oh, absolutely. The biggest change I see is I've always had like a really big heart for animals, but now, oh God, I'm just thinking about it, and I get choked up. I really feel for animals that are abused in any way. Like it really, really affects me, and I really respect nature in a different way. Like, I realize that it's in charge. I'm just here. I don't look to fight with it. I don't look to change nature in my surroundings. I appreciate it. I actually, when I walk to work, I enjoy looking at the sky. I look at the stars more. I like to smell things more outside, the sounds, everything. It's just kind of like the volume's been put on, so to speak, when it comes to nature now. Whereas I used to go to work, be outside for a little bit, and then come home and be in my house. Now it's like I don't take nature for granted, and I try to appreciate it. But I feel like my relationship with animals has just gone like 20-fold. Down to the little chipmunk I see. I even had a baby hawk in my yard. I thought, wow, is that a gift or what? More different types of animals are coming around, or I'm seeing them or something. Maybe my eyes are just, more open now because of how I feel about nature.
Well, I think when you open these doors for yourself, these shamanic doors, that your perception broadens. So you're perceiving the world a little differently than maybe you had before.
Oh, yeah, definitely. My son has a lot to do with that, too, because he's on the other realm of perception than I am.
What do you mean?
He's just a completely different temperament than me. He's more reserved. He's quiet. He's more at peace with himself. He knows himself so well at 16 years old. I didn't know who I was when I was 16 at all. And he sees things different. He'll say, Mom, why did you say that like that? And I said, well, that's how I feel about it. And he's more sensitive to the other person than I would be. I just open up my mouth and just say. And my son, takes that step back already before he speaks. That pause where you just say, is it worth it to say anything or not? Whereas I would just blare it out and blot it out. So I've learned from him to just think before you speak, because some people are really sensitive. Yeah.
So the person you were before you had this opening, what were you like before, and how would you describe yourself afterwards?
Before, I was really looking to other things or other people to fill me up, so to speak. You know, I wanted to have a husband, I wanted to have a child or children, and, you know, I wanted better relationships in my life. I wanted the ones that I had to be better or have new ones that were good. And you know, it was all about having people with me and, you know, I didn't want to be by myself. And now, like, I cherish having my time to myself, and it doesn't make me feel like I'm alone. It just makes me feel like, well, now I have some time to catch my breath and do things for me. And the only person that's going to fill me is me and how I feel about me, instead of some other half doesn't complete me. I can honestly say, you know, I love my boyfriend, but I know that I'm whole without him. He compliments me and he makes my life better and more enjoyable and offers me companionship, someone to talk to. But I know someday he may not be here. Maybe he'll pass or I'll pass or what. And I know that my life will go on and I'll be okay. Whereas I used to put so much weight on that. You got to be married or you got to be. Now I'm more like, it's okay to be an independent person. It doesn't revolve around other people and looking to them for things. After my marriage didn't go well, I really felt like I had to fill that gap, you know, or get somebody else there. And I was like, why would I be in such a rush to go back into a relationship when this one wasn't even good? So I didn't take the time to take a look at it. And I was quick to jump. You know, what do they call that? The rebound.
Right.
Just rebound. And you know, those didn't go good. Then I was on my own, and that's when I was like, I really need help because everything is just terrible. The more and more I did the shamanism, it got me to understand how really caring for yourself first helps others. I used to go to shaman circles, and they would say to me how you have to love yourself before you can love someone else. And I could never get that because I felt like that would be so selfish of me to love me before I love like my son or I love anything else.
Has your perspective changed now around that?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like now I see that loving myself is not selfish. It's caring for myself. And, you know, everyone around me who loves me wants me to care for myself. They don't want me to not be a well, happy person. I wouldn't be grounded if I didn't care for myself.
Well, I don't think you're alone in that. I think a lot of, especially women, feel that they can't love themselves because it's considered selfish.
I used to preach to my mother. She would kill herself, like get to the point where she was sick to do things for me and my brothers, right? And I was like, Mom, we're useless if you're not well. You have to take care of yourself first. And I think that's where I got it from, maybe. So that just might have been how I grew up, and I saw how she would just do everything and put herself last. And I thought maybe that's the way I'm supposed to be. That's the kind of mother I'm supposed to be, the kind of person. And at some point, you know, I realized that that's not it.
Getting back to your healing session, that the first one, I guess I did for you. And again, I don't remember any of it because they are.
That's all right. You do a billion of them, I'm sure.
Well, no, I've done quite a few, yeah, I guess. But the nature of them is it's a dream. So I forget about it. Like you would a dream. And so that's why for the long distance ones, I have to write it down. The solar plexus really is a reflection of your relationship with yourself, your self-esteem, your relationship with your power. And when
mine was like depressed. Yep.
Right. I don't, like I said, I don't remember the details of the journey, but that tendency to look outside of yourself, it is like giving your power away in a sense. I'm hoping that the healing session helped you take your power back so that it was in its rightful place, so that you had the inner resources to do what you needed to do to live your life.
It started that journey, or that healing in itself was not all of it. That just was the start. I feel like it was the base, because once you gave me this new burnt out solar plexus, or you burnt out my heart because it was so hurt and damaged, and the solar plexus was depressed, then I had a new, and I felt like, okay, I have a fresh and a new. Yeah, there was the apple tree with all the betrayals. I didn't have a foundation of trust anywhere, Wendy. You said you never met anybody that you could not find their foundation of trust in the spirit realm, and I had none. You said that you planted an old oak tree for me and that would be my trust.
Okay, your tree of trust.
Hold on, I'm getting emotional.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's true. It's just very true that I have a really hard time trusting people because I had been so betrayed by so many people. My dad and my brothers and now my ex-husband and everyone, you know?
Yeah.
So it wasn't a surprise when you said to me, Connie, I can't find a foundation of trust in your spirit realm. I felt like, wow, you know, what a mess. But then you said you planted an oak tree. And I was like, that's awesome. You know, and I held on to that. And I have a picture of the oldest oak tree. It's in South Carolina. It's like over, I don't know, 1,000 or 4,000 years old. I mean, oak trees live a long time and they're solid. And I find my boyfriend at that tree when I'm doubting and my fears come up. There he is sitting under that tree when I journey. That was a powerful thing for me. Every time you do my healings or something, you always say, I never had anybody that had this. Or, you know, well, I'm like, can I get a bear? No, I get a snail, you know, and stuff like that.
You got a snail?
A snail. Okay. That was my first power animal, a snail. I'm like, who gets a snail? I'm like, I want a tiger. I want a bear, you know, and stuff like that. And then it was like a dolphin, and I got that one. That one was cool. A skunk. I'm like, a skunk? Really? You know, I never forget it. It was funny. When I looked up what they represented, I went, wow, that's right on.
For the record,
you know,
I have had quite a few people where I couldn't find their foundation of trust after you.
Oh, you could? Oh, thank goodness.
So you're not the only one.
I felt like, all right, good, because I was like, wow, really? But it's funny that was just so true of me, and I never realized it. And it's like, no, I don't trust anything, because I was always getting sabotaged. Like my brothers would constantly sabotage me, make me on edge. So, yeah, and I was tortured. I grew up with that. Like, you know, there's always somebody's doing something sneaky. They don't just like me and being nice to me. There's no way. And that's unfortunately what happened to me when I was really little. So that was really deep. And it took me a while to just trust people.
Right. You know, the trust issue comes up with most people when they come for a healing session. I find that they really struggle with trust because it's such a, it's such a foundational piece of us. It's how we kind of navigate through our lives and through the world. And when you're little and you've been betrayed in some way, or if you've had serious abuse, you can't trust the safety of the world. You can have serious damage to your foundation of trust. So it's a really common area
for people
that needs healing. Yeah.
Well, I always was a positive person. I would always trust my gut. But after my marriage, I didn't even trust myself anymore. How could I have been so blinded? I was so kind of more concerned with doing what was ingrained in me to be the right thing instead of trusting my gut. In hindsight, I thank my ex-husband, even though the relationship wasn't good, because I got my son from it. You know, I thank him for that. You know, that's the one thing I can thank my ex-husband for was, you know, helping me bring forth this beautiful young man. But everything else, forget it. You know, I mean, if I had trusted my gut, maybe I did trust my gut and said, this is my chance to have a child. I don't know. You know, I loved my husband when I married him. There were plenty of times where I was just like, wow, what am I doing? What am I doing?
I don't think you're alone in that.
I realize that now. Yeah.
Yeah. I think all of us, we all have at least one relationship when we look back and we could say there were lots of red flags in that one that I ignored.
Just didn't catch.
And I just went ahead anyway.
Did it anyway. Yeah. And I just go, well, in my mind, that's what I say. I say, well, thank goodness I did that because I had a child, which is something I really wanted to do. But if I had tried to have my son on my own, it would have been hard. I mean, I ended up having him on my own anyway by the time he was 5.5, and I pretty much was doing all the raising anyway. But he does have a dad, and his dad's in his life, so that's always a good thing. And it could have went a lot worse. I say, was I trusting my gut? Well, I don't know. I think I was just going with it, the excitement of it and stuff like that. But now that I look back on it, yeah, I had plenty of flags coming at me.
What's your relationship with trust like now?
It's good. It makes me step back. I think I've projected. I don't know if I can project on my son, but so many times he'll text me, "Mom, are you going to come pick me up?" "No, I'm going to leave you there at school." "Of course I'm coming." So I'm like, where does he get that from? Why would he think I'm not going to come get him? I said to him, when have I ever not? When have I ever dropped the ball and not been there to get you? So I don't know why he does that. But again, maybe he's got a little bit of the trust thing going on. So I really, really try to stay solid and show him that I'm there. I'm always going to be there. I'm solid, because that's such an important thing that I didn't have, from so many people. But my mom was always the person that was there for me. It was just my dad and my brothers that weren't. So that's why I always had that issue with certain people and people I dated and whatnot. And I have a whole group of friends now.
Going back to your dark time, could you imagine back then that you'd be where you're at now?
I couldn't see anything. I mean, I was shaky about everything. I would do this spiral thing where, one little negative thing would happen. I was just spiraling into negativity, couldn't get out. It was just like, I can't explain it. I don't think I'll ever go there again. There's no way. I mean, I've had my moments where, something really bothers me and I might get down about it. But now I know it's going to pass. And now I'm not afraid to embrace a little sadness here and there, because it doesn't stay forever. It passes. Nobody cries for 24/7, 365 days a year. You just don't. So it's going to pass. It's like ebbs and flows. So if I feel like something's bothering me, or I feel like I'm going to cry, or I feel sad, I go, so what? Feel sad. Get through it. Go look at it. I'm not afraid of that. With the dark night of the soul, you're just in it all the time. It's like somebody's throwing pellets at you all the time. You go to the grocery store to smile at somebody. They drop a book on you and you're upset. You can't even handle it. It's like you can't handle anything. You're like a mess. You're like in a million pieces and you just can't keep yourself together. And that's how it felt to me. I would smile to my son, but, he probably knew. I mean, he's a child. They sense things.
Yeah, kids don't miss much. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was having trouble in school, and I said, I don't know how to help him. My parents are married at 50-something years, and here I am divorced and with a child, and so we went to some counseling together because he needed to hear, that everything was okay. He didn't have he had a 5.5-year-old mind. I don't know how he's perceiving things, so I went to a counselor to help him to explain what's happened. In that, and talking in there, that slowed my mind down too a little bit and got me to look at myself. And that's when all that stuff was happening with you too.
What I think is really powerful is how your son got to witness you go into this dark place, even though he may not have understood it at his age, but he also got to see you pull yourself out of it and become a confident, strong woman. So he learned from you that you can get through a dark time and come out on the other side of it. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the most, the best gifts you could give your son.
Yeah, well, that's what I try to show him, what he can do. I have a little thing he drew for me once, and how he described me was, my mom is strong. And I was just like, that's cool. And I kept that one. And now he quotes me, Wendy. It's like, oh, who said that? And he goes, you did. And I'm like, uh-oh. So he's like, Mom, you got to look at the positive. Oh, yeah. And he's like quoting me. And I go, how did you get so positive? And I go, oh, that was me. And I don't even realize. I just saw that movie, Bohemian Rhapsody. Have you seen that yet, Wendy?
No, I haven't.
I don't know. Okay. I really like the band Queen, so it was an easy movie for me to go see. And so his father's line or thing that he would say to his son all the time was, good thoughts, good words, good deeds. It just hit me so strong at the end of that movie, because that's what it's really about. And it sometimes there's just too much to carry around in your mind. So if you could just remember those 3 things, like to have good thoughts, to speak good words, and to do good things, it makes it easy for you, because we all have all this crap going on in our heads all the time. That was always a challenge for me. But that dark night of the soul, was something I could not get out of on my own. I had been down before and could pick myself up and get through it, but that time I couldn't. It just wasn't happening.
Super hard.
I couldn't.
Yep.
Yeah. So
That's what I love about the fact that you're willing to talk about your journey, because this is something that I think is universal, that we all go through these really difficult experiences at some point in our lives. If we're lucky, it's just one time, but a lot of times there's more than one really
plenty of them.
Challenging experience.
Oh, yeah.
It's a wonderful opportunity to face all your fears and insecurities, and it's not fun.
It's horrible.
But you can come out on the other side and be a lot stronger.
Yep. It sounds corny, but you really, when you're in it, you can't see it. If you ask me, did I think I'd have this conversation with you 10 years later, I would be like, are you kidding? How the hell am I ever going to feel better about myself? How am I ever? That's how it feels to be in the dark night of the soul. Everything's hopeless. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And you don't see it. But I did know that I needed help, and I was, I guess, strong enough. I didn't even realize it. I followed what was coming to me, and I opened up to it. I said, yeah, go ahead, give it a try. Yeah, I'll come to that healing thing. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do anything.
I get a lot of folks who are in that place of desperation. It's like, yeah, I'll try the crazy shamanic shit. I'll try that.
I'll try that shit. Well, I tried a counselor. I cannot sit there and talk to this counselor. And then I wanted to have someone to talk to, right? So I go in there and I'm talking to her. And then she makes me sit on the couch and stare at the ceiling and talk. And I'm like, I could do this at home.
Wow, that's old school. Yeah.
Oh, I said, forget it. This is not helping me, Oh. And then all the shaman stuff came in. I'm like, now this shit I like, because this shuts up my brain. I see really cool stuff. And it was the drumming, the drumming and the rattling just immediately snapped me right out of that chit chat. Loved it. I was like, wow, if I could even, you know what I used to love? That Subliminal Brain Rhythm Rain CD that you have.
Oh, yeah.
In the workbook.
Yeah.
My son couldn't sleep at night. I would put that thing on for him, and there I would, journeying on the floor in my son's room. He would stay comatose sleeping because he couldn't shut off his head. He says, my mind doesn't stop talking and talking. I said, I know, because it's sleep time and your mind's racing. So I would put that Rain CD on, and out he went. Mom would journey, and when it drummed at the end, I would wake up. And there were times I went so deep, I didn't know where I was when I woke up. I was looking around going, where the hell am I?
Yeah. The sound of the drums, the shamanic drum beat and the rattle, it's in your DNA.
I love that.
It resonates with us at such a deep level.
The drumming I really enjoy, and I tell people, they're like, well, what is that? And they try to explain. I said, it just kind of shuts off that chitty chatty mind so that you're open and you can see things clear. I don't know, it just keeps me grounded.
It's good medicine.
Yeah. And I just thoroughly, when I talk about you, I even think I gave you my hairdresser. She gave you a call. I said, Wendy is authentic and naturally journeys like this, and give her a call and see if she can help you. But in time, people get to it or don't get to it or whatever. And I said, you don't have to call her at all. I said, you could try it if you want. But I love telling the story how, you found my dirty Raggedy Ann doll while you were sitting in Vermont and I was here in my house, And I never told you about her. She was in my closet. I thought I forgot about her. No, I just had her so far under the rug, I wasn't dealing with her. It was a representation. My little old-fashioned, original Raggedy Ann doll was filthy, right?
Okay.
And beat up. And you said that's how I felt. You went and did a soul retrieval, and you could not find this part of me. It was really tough. I was hidden behind a rock in the earth or something, and there I was, and you had to get all your spirit helpers to get me out of there and make me go. And then you asked me to go walk to the tree of trust and touch it, and I still wouldn't go. You had to help me be a warrior to do it. So because it was stuff that's so deep from when you're 4 years old, you don't even know it, and you don't even know how you got it, but that's hard stuff to just go work through.
Right.
It's very hard. It was
one of the things I wanted to, for the record, because I'm the queen of disclaimers, that the shamanic work is, you're referring to me doing it, but I'm actually just kind of the go-between. And so my job as a human being doing this work is to be as, to keep my house clean, figuratively, so that when I'm
Mhm.
working on behalf of others, I can perceive as hopefully as clearly as possible. But it's really my helping spirits who are doing the work and pointing stuff out to me.
You're just communicating it to me.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, that's what I say, like when I do the fire ceremonies, I'm not doing anything. I'm just open. I'm just really focusing on whatever journey I ask them to try and take, like to be a drop of water in the ocean and spread yourself out. And I give them some type of visual thing, and they just let your mind go and let me know if you see an animal, if you see a person. Just tell me what comes, and then I just focus on the person and wish them well, type of thing, or just listen to the drum, and the drum just shush. And I have my own journey while I'm walking around everybody drumming. I'm still doing the drumming, but I'm journeying too,
Yeah, good.
Um, and it just feels really good because it's not about me. I like that aspect of it. But at the same time, I'm benefiting too because I'm clearing my mind and I'm staying open, and it's good for me as well.
It's
So
great, right?
yeah, no, it's really good stuff, and I want to try to get into it more and more. I've gone to like things with my mom, which is really nice, and she still goes to church. But she's I don't believe all this stuff, but my friends go, so I go to church. But she likes shamanism. She likes the shamanism too, and I think my mom has friends that enjoy it. I have friends that enjoy it, and it's funny how my friends who now they come to my backyard and do a fire ceremony every couple of months or so. She says, "Oh, I met this woman in the city, and she's I said, "A shaman?" And she goes, "Yeah." I said, "What the heck, man? I've been telling you about this stuff for years." I said, "I consider myself a shaman. I love to journey, And she's like, "Oh my God, is that what you've been talking about?" So see how she got the message, and then she came around full circle and ended up in my backyard.
Yeah, I
Who
guess we
knows,
hear
right?
it when we're ready to hear
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, exactly. And from whom? Sometimes you're not receptive to people,
Very true. All right. Thank you very much for sharing your story with us. It's really powerful.
I think so. It's been a long road. It's like you said, I haven't realized it has been almost 10 years.
Yeah, it's not a race.
Yeah, no, I know. But like, if you told me, in 10 years, you'll feel fine, I'll be like, 10 years? I can't wait that long, that kind of thing. It seems like so long when
Well,
you're starting out,
I'm really happy that you are feeling better, that you're feeling more like
Absolutely.
yourself. Yeah.
Yep, definitely, definitely.
Okay, a big thank you to Connie for sharing her healing journey with us. Takes a lot of courage to do that, but Connie seemed super comfortable talking about her experience. Really appreciate that. Hoping to bring other healing journeys your way in future episodes. I will soon be talking with a woman about her ayahuasca experience. Looking forward to sharing that episode with you in the very near future. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.